Welcome back to WNTR Radio with some professional StarCraft 2. The Polish Protoss player in the red, it is Gerald, up against the mainstay of Korean Zerg, the Rocky Zerg, Solo. A best of 3 Protoss versus Zerg showdown on the new balance patch, the public test realm, with so many changes, some good and some we're still a bit undecided on. But it'd be awesome if you could make the decision to gently caress that like button and maybe even subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we at? I know I sound weird. 1,453 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And hopefully I'll probably do it anyways. And I've been feeling a bit under the weather lately. A bit sick of these silly balance changes. No. So it would make my day a little bit better. And hopefully, despite the circumstances, I can make yours a little bit better as well. So thank you for watching. And let's talk about the changes. Shield battery overcharge has been removed from the game entirely. Now, that icon on the Nexus has been replaced by energy overcharge, an ability for 50 energy on the Nexus, 1 minute cooldown. You can drop 100 energy on any unit or building besides the Nexus itself. So this allows you to get an extra 100 energy. Yes, you turn energy into more energy. Entropy be damned, but then again, Protoss is space magic anyway, so starting things out with the Oracle, we'll see if he has the Nexus energy to drop that extra one in. We'll see how it plays out. Not having that basic defensive tool of overcharge obviously complicates a lot of early timings, but having, especially in the mid to late game, another 100 energy on the Templar, Sentry, or Oracle can make a difference as well. I don't know if it'll make up for it, but it certainly opens up some other opportunities. As for Zerg, Queens, unfortunately, have been caught up in inflation and now cost 25 more minerals, 175 apiece. Yes, sorry, Brenda. Sorry. But the hatchery on discount, 25 less. So for the first 3 Queens, the net cost is the same. And this has kind of the, I'm assuming, intentional effect of allowing Zergs to more reliably get their natural and not have it blocked by a probe, which is one of the more annoying and typical things. Another major change. The Spore Crawler now does 5 more damage, which means the Oracle has a much tougher time getting in, if there's a Spore, of course, and getting damage done. So Solar here. By the way, Gerald going under the PTR name Probe are good. No one ever said Protoss were good at grammar. And get off my creep. Down goes the Oracle. Doesn't need a Spore Crawler to let 4 Queens take it out. Otherwise, the Queens are the same. They just cost a little bit more for the same thing. But what doesn't nowadays? Adept Shadian, he actually commits. The Queens trying to body block out, doing a pretty good job so far. Zerglings come back to defend. And another bit of a questionable harassment here from Gerald. But the worker counts are about even, at least for now. Sees the Spore, backs off. And we're going to be going back to our corners as neither player looks committed to any sort of early timing. Blanking +1. Twilight Council Forge on the way. Lair as well. The Stalkers will be covered. Energy Overcharge could be very helpful on the, it's a pretty underwhelming animation. An instant cast gives it a little shield bubble looking thing. Very easy to miss if you're not looking for it. And it could be cast from any Nexus to any unit. Not on the map, just near the Nexus. I feel like maybe it shouldn't have such a range restriction as well. In fact, I do like the suggestion of keeping Shield Battery Overcharge and Energy Overcharge, and just having them share a cooldown. So you get to choose one or the other. But that would still offer some more tools for Protoss to, not die unless they have units there. Every energy unit is so fragile. Like the High Templar, the Sentry, the Oracle are the 3 most fragile units almost in the game. So instead, the shield batteries themselves have more HP. 200 instead of 150 150. But really that was only relevant because of shield battery overcharge. Without it, I guess we can go over some of the more later game changes. The Immortal now costs 25 minerals less, but it attacks about 10% slower. I'd probably call that a nerf. Disruptor does only 100 damage. Doesn't one-shot roaches. But it has a larger radius, so against Hydras maybe better. But Mutas, on the other hand, exactly the same. But Gerald here, he already lost one Oracle. He hasn't been particularly ambitious in getting himself out there, so those Mutas may come as a shock. And no matter how much energy for Storm you have, if the Templar aren't in position, well, there's not going to be a single cannon in the mineral lines. He's not going to have almost any defense against this. And ideally, part of the reason you don't go Mutas is because when they have a Stargate early on, well, then they can just build Phoenixes. But they first have to scout the Mutalisk exist. So, that scouting is going to happen really late here. The first stasis is good. Storm is done. The Mutas flying in towards the main. And it will be, looks like he had some indication. Single cannon, easily taken out. Blink is done for the Stalkers, but that's just not that many. Charge and +2 on the way. Ground army boxing out. The cannons all over the place. A Storm softens up the Zerglings. Gets a tag on them as well. And the Mutas and Lings swinging in. The 4th base, unlikely to make it through this onslaught. No cancel. Gerald has a tough time defending the multi-pronged attacks. So the big weakness of Mutas is how committed you are to them. You keep building them, and eventually the Death Ball of Protoss might be able to roll you over. But Solar already has 4 bases, could easily get more. And Gerald is struggling for a 4th. He's down 50 supply. It is a very hefty 50 supply. In fact, his army costs more gas. Though losing 2 Oracles certainly won't help. Keeping tabs on those Mutas, starting to build Phoenixes. The Phoenixes eventually, that means he thinks he'll survive more than a few more minutes. Because if you go Phoenixes after, the Storm's just wading into it. Mutas quite squishy. Another group of Mutas. A few Templar die, I think one to its own Storm. And the Stalkers are making their way across. No infestation, but nothing behind this. As the Solar is fully committed to the Mutalisk, which is quite a Mutal risk as time goes on. Another Phoenix, targeted down, not even adding any Corruptors. He's getting +2 flyer attack. So, the Archons, angrily defending the middle line, have about as much range as the Mutas, though terrestrially bound. The Zerglings on top, trying to get some of those Storms out of the way, biting the Stalkers heads up. And with Zerglings underneath, you need some Archons, you need some Storms. He doesn't have them. Coming in again, to try to target down one Archon, but Mutas getting annihilated in the sky. And the supplies draw dangerously close to even. Again, Gerald, well, he's able to hold on to his 4th. And, energy overcharge, he's been using it, it seems, on cooldown. It's just so hard to see. I hope the animation gets updated to, be visible at all. Especially in these major fights. Shield Battery Overcharge had the benefit of being pretty obvious when it was cast. Whereas, Energy Overcharge, I will try to look for it, but I still struggle to find it unless I'm looking directly at it when it happens. Cannon taken out, more probes suffering the price, but the best Gerald can do here is try to weather with Storms and get as close to 200 supply as possible. Especially since Solar is not teching up at all. He doesn't have the Hive on the way. He doesn't have the fancy new push everything out of the way Ultras. He doesn't have any angle towards Broodlords. He's just making more Mutas. And they do have an expiration date, though Gerald continues losing parts of his economy. He's slowly building up the upgrades in the composition. So he's getting closer to the point he might be able to just do the death ball sort of push across the map. Muta's just jumping on the main base. and killing everything there. Obviously not the intended outcome. The Archon's trying to help out. But Solar's just continually doing damage across the board. Depowers the upgrades and the Stargate in everything that he could be using to deal with these mutas. If the mutas stray a little bit too close to the metaphorical sun and get obliterated by the Archons. The supply dipping heavily. Yeah, he's doing a great job of keeping Gerald's unit count down, slowing down his tech. But Solar also has no transition. He has no follow-up to this. Immortals, Archons, Templar all together. Solar. Still, just mutas. Only mutas.com. 7 more mutas on the way. He's trying, like, what's the endgame? He doesn't have banelings. He's just trying to kill him. And, well, it's getting... It's solidly coming to a middle now. As if Gerald is too far out of position for more than a few seconds. There's the baneling now. For more than a few seconds, the mutas can kill an entire base. So, obviously, that's not great. But he's doing a good job of boxing out. That energy overcharge keeps getting used. I'm not sure where. It's a global cooldown. You can only use 1 across the board. It's not per nexus. But, overall, still a solid defense so far. It appears Solar has rediscovered ancient Zerg technology of things that aren't mutas. Hydralisk Den, Baneling Nest on the way. But most notably, no Infestation Pit. And without the Infestation Pit, you can't go to Hive. Without the Hive, it's getting harder and harder to see him actually breaking this composition. Class 3, ground weapons about to complete. The 4th base is now established. Gerald has worked hard for this one. Solar has lost not that many more resources. And, well, boxing out. He's partitioning. Oh my god, that is so many units. 39. Well, that number dwindling. That is so many mutants. It feels like Solar's trying to do a daily quest right now. Only mutas. On top of the Templar. Wading through the storms, though. Autumn colors for those mutas. And the number dwindling rapidly. He had 39. He's down to 18. Now he's getting speed for all the units that can actually fight. Hydras and Banelings, but +1 ranged attack is still pretty far off. That is about as close to a maxed out Protoss army as Gerald's ever gonna get. He's still building probes. He's lost 58 and counting. The mutas swing back in for more. Just incessant. And he hasn't gotten Phoenix range. Another good Archon merge. Able to buy some time. Does lose it. But Baneling speed now done. And the mutas, well, this comes down to the counter swing. There's so many Archons. Like seven Archons. He keeps warping in Templar. The Immortals, not great against Zerglings, but good luck stopping them there. More Banelings rolling in. Well, the first Baneling's rolling in. Goes straight into the barriers. Recall on top of the base. The Archons, now point blank range. And more than enough to drive back the Zerg. Muta's still trying, but Gerald's had enough. He's down to 35 probes. He's got 100 army supply to 2 Solars 104. How many Archons? 7 Archons, 5 Immortals. None of those units besides the Immortal. Well, the Immortal's actually a worse fighting unit. It's just a little bit cheaper. So we're looking at your pretty stock Protoss army here. Hydras are slightly slower on creep with the speed upgrade. Still faster than without it. The storms. Ooh. It's looking... Well, the storms are amazing. Category 5 across the board. The Archons pushing through. Immortals backing them up. Where are the mutas? The Immortal count's starting to thin out. The drones are pulled off the line. The Archons just bashing through. And GG. Gerald fights back as Solar kind of refuses to go to Hive Tech. And Gerald puts together that late game army that really, it's almost impossible for a mid-game Zerg to deal with. especially if you don't have that ground-based army. Having that much supply of mutas, a great idea, fun to watch, but it just doesn't age well. And neither does solar, as that brings us directly jumping into Game 2 on Ultra Love, something this patch actually lives up to, with Solar wondering where the pervert pillar is. And, is that it? This crazy left of my natural? Maybe? The black hole? I guess that's perfect for overlords when you think about it. Insane spot. I don't know if I'd go that far, but you've seen my YouTube title, so it's hard to disagree too much. If that is, well, there's a pretty obvious spot at the back that might be helpful for checking beyond the mineral line and all that, but we'll see. Looks like Probe got across the map in time. Probe are good, is what I've heard from Gerald, so able to block the Natchery. We're going to see whether or not that's an OV spot, but very cool look to this map. It is a new map pool as well as a new balance patch, so a lot of new changes. Good, bad, exciting, confusing. Though without Terran here, it's a little less confusing. That's just a general rule. Nexus on the way. What else do we have? We have these beautiful... It's a little on the dark side of things, which I'm always in favor of for so many reasons, but... We got some watchtowers out there. It's like a little biolab looking thing. Not exactly sure what that is. I think that's just a map blocker. That looks cool. Yeah, sensor towers off to the side. A mostly direct path down the center. And, very importantly, a ramp up to the high ground, which is a big part of early defense for all races, but especially Protoss. With the Cyber Core finishing up, we're going to see if the Stargate continues to be the mainstay. I don't see why not. Even if the Oracle isn't quite as effective with Spore Crawlers out there, still by far the best way to defend early. It is the only unit that can reliably scout, as well as have enough damage to defend. The Void Ray is not really in that same category. It can't reliably kill drones. It's not going to get a revelation. It isn't fast enough to come back and defend if you need it to. It doesn't really kill Zerglings that quickly. It's just, well, the Oracle's just better at everything but killing Overlords. Especially for the cost. Especially now that Energy Overcharge is in the game. And obviously Void Rays don't have energy. This patch. Adept. Coming in. Looking to duel. But, unfortunately, the Queens don't fight fair. Zergling gets into the base and will confirm the almost inevitable. Yes, it is a Stargate. He's building an Oracle. You can actually see it if you look at the Stargate. One of the only buildings that's actually true. Quite cool, but also a bit of a disadvantage, to be honest. Gerald knows the timing. That Zergling speed kicks in, so he's already kicking his Adepts out of the base. Spore Crawler's on the way, anticipating that first Oracle. And sliding its way in. So far, we haven't seen too much of the new patch sort of units. I mean, besides the Queen and Energy Overcharge, but these aren't super flashy sort of abilities. The one unit that did get a kind of flashy ability, though questionable that it's targeted, is of course the Mothership, which now attacks 4 units at a time, still with minimal damage, but that's up from 1. So pretty significant damage upgrade. Unfortunately, you can only build 1 at a time, and it can still be abducted. But otherwise, I really think, at the very least, I'd rather have no abduct. It's a little silly. The Flying City, come on. I'd rather have no abduct than a little more damage. But honestly, I think it should be immune to spells. Like, it's a Mothership. One unit, you get 1 of them. And it costs an arm and a leg. But it feels like Protoss on the Balance Council are pretty much embodying, I have no mouth, but I must scream. Let's get some cool stuff. The Mothership being immune to spells. Now that's something I'd like to see. An actual hero unit. If you're only allowed to have one, it's so ridiculously expensive. Come on. Alright. With the Tempest and Carrier being questionable at best. Especially at the top level. Maybe in your team games, not so much. Oh, probes. Union mandated work break. Adept surrounded. One will survive for a few moments until the queen puts it down. That's enough. Susan, not today. My voice can't take it. Well, that sounds like a you problem. It is a me. It's very much a me problem. Sorry. Blinking +1. The usual follow-up. This time around, it's going to be roaches out of solar. The mutas were fun, but they still suffer from the same weakness. It's very hard to outright kill someone with mutas if they have any sort of preparation. And I think the energy overcharge combined into storm gives you even better options. Of course, you have to have that storm done, but in that scenario, because mutas do take a while themselves, the energy overcharge actually does have an impact, and I think it helped Gerald defend against the mass mutas better than shield battery overcharge would, because one, you have to have a shield battery, which can die, and two, you have to have units that take advantage of it. And the very simple, like when they get 20 mutas, the shield battery will just die. They can target it in a single volley, even if it had its extra HP. So, I think the energy overcharge helps, especially in that scenario. Now we got all the fixins coming together. Templar Archives, Robotics Facility. The roaches with +1 in speed. And that is Overlord speed, which makes me think the queens are about to be taking a not so long journey. They're not too far away now. The creep spread pushed out quite far. The queens going through, passing on the right, going through the roads and bridges to the side of the, what the this is not, that's not what I expect. The mass creep drop. Solar. Really exploring these mid-game opportunities. Unfortunately, the queens are stuck behind the morphing Ravagers, but Storm is only halfway done. No overcharge means no ability to defend here. And with the mass creep drop on its way across the map, the queens are here for anti-air. Corrosive Bile. And no amount of energy is going to save you from this much Roach Ravager. Just a little bit too late on the storm, and now Gerald is down 60 supply. The damage is already being done. There's still a few Templar at the natural, but I think we're past the point that the storms can stem the tide. Some zealots are warped in. The oracles are taken out of the sky. The creep is dropped, and the creep tumors are absolutely everywhere. And that's it. Solar just walks up and kills him. And that's the end of game 2. We're all tied up, loading into game 3 on Snowpiercer. Solar with the old go fucking kill him strategy. An effective one at that, as Gerald thought he could get away with rushing to Storm. But Solar kind of exploiting that weakness that Protoss, that is opened up with the lack of shield battery overcharge. Very simply, the issue for early mid-game Protoss is not a lack of energy. It's a lack of ability to not just die. As the Oracle is rarely limited, especially on defense, by how much energy it has. Same with the Sentry, a lot of the time. The Templar, yes, but you have to get Storm, otherwise what's the point? So we're just hitting that big Roach Ravager timing. And I love the Overlord drop as well. I think Solar kind of trying some different things. Not right-clicking all of his drones onto a mineral patch. That's just dumb. But he's able to get the natural this time around as well. I think we're going to see just that 25 mineral hatchery cost reduction. We're going to see a few more Zergs able to get the hatchery. Like if you go for a 14 or 15 extractor trick hatch, you can usually get there even if they send the probe at the very beginning of the game. It simply cannot be there physically in time to block the base. So that is the smallest big change, I think, in this matchup. As where the Zerg expands first defines the entire early game. It is the entire early game. everything revolves around that. So, if the Zergs are able to get their second base up quicker, even if it's like 1 or 2 drones less, that will change how much damage Oracles and Adepts are able to do. So, a tiny shift that can have significant changes. Is it good? Is it bad? I mean, I've always felt like blocking the hatchery is kind of a necessary evil, as Protoss needs to slow down the tech of Zerg. Like, very lore accurately, they will overwhelm you if allowed to do so. And that is why every game is kind of trying to whittle around the edges, forcing the spore crawlers, poking in with the Adepts. So if Zergs are a little bit more comfortable in defense, even if they have 1 or 2 less queens in the long run, that could bode ill for the Protoss. But we will see. And again, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to smash that like button. You made it this far. I am pretty sick at the moment. Sick city indeed. But I really wanted to show off these games. And we're kind of taking it one game at a time. Alright. I won't cast if I feel like I can't. But I think your kind of radio cast might be where we are for at least a few days. Not my favorite, but we can make it work. Kind of like the balance patch, I think. We brought it all together. Thank you for watching. Alright. Another kind of standard fare for the map. Notably, no ramp to the natural. So a little bit harder to defend outright. Not that that stopped Solar in the last game. But otherwise, your standard kind of 3rd and 4th base layout. The Oracle comes in, gonna pick off a drone. There is no spore, but there are plenty of queens, and puts it back. Wait, whoa. Well, that's unfortunate. There's not enough. Both players surprised there is not enough space in order to hide that Oracle back there. Which is unfortunate. And another Oracle goes down. The Zerglings just sharking around. Oracle's trying to chase. No creep spread. Well, not much creep spread. And a forge first for Gerald. Does he have the Twilight with it? Yes. Alright. Looks like we're angling towards the blanking +1, but there's always an opportunity. There, we saw energy overcharge. That was a little animation. He brought the Oracle back around to slap down the energy on it. Adding 100. So that means extra stasis, extra opportunities. And there we go. I'll see what he does with it. Brotorn on the way. Solar angling towards that much more mid-game oriented army. The Mutas just... they kind of get you stuck in this direction. I think he had plenty of opportunities to go for Hive. But it's very hard once you start going Mutas to stop. It's an addiction, alright? They are my favorite Zerg unit as well. But very simply, it's so hard to swerve out of the Muta. 1, you stop putting pressure on, you might die. And 2, they're so expensive, it feels like you can't just go to Hive. So, I doubt we'll see too much of them. There's no changes that make them much stronger. In fact, the energy overcharge might make it a little bit harder to get Mutas out, since, as I mentioned, shield battery overcharge was not as much of a stopgap against the mass Muta style. Queen just melted. And now that Spore Crawler doing the extra damage. Works on the drones, but gets a couple. Infestation pit now on the way. A rush up towards, I think, Swarm House this time around. could always be rushing towards Hive, and those new Ultras that push their friends, and I think enemies out of the way, though unclear exactly how that works. The Broodlords, also buffed, getting a significant damage and attack speed increase, though with no Spire, I think it's very unlikely we're going to see that direction. I'd love to see either Swarm Hosts or Ultras, so hopefully we get one of those directions. He's just sitting there menacingly with his infestation pick done, not building anything up. What are you doing, Solar? Pick it. Make a decision. Templar Archives. And there it is. 6 Swarm Hosts on the way. 8 of them. Up against this more Templar-oriented style. We'll see if the storms are enough to stop this. Shield battery overcharge historically has been an important part of defending against the Swarm Host, more so than the Mutas. Because you need something. It's about the same cooldown as the Swarm Host, so you can use it as a stopgap. It's a bit harder for the Swarm Host to actually pick it off. If well positioned. We will see. Storms can help. And he's kind of trading out. Clearly baiting there. I'm pretty sure Solar either saw it or he's got an idea of what he's dealing with. Oh, the stasis is triggered by a single lane. He's forced to send it back. And now Sir Richard and his merry band of Swarm Host brethren are on the field. No Nidus, no nothing. They're just trundling across the map. The Swarm Hosts are spotted. Storm is now done at exactly the right moment. But can he soften it up? He uses the Storms, but the Templar, he dives on him. And the Locusts easily take out the Archon as well. Some Stalkers out there, but Solar's already maxed out. The Queens, here to help deal with everything. There's so much Zerg. And those Swarm Hosts are coming up again. I don't know if having one more storm per minute is going to make the difference here. He's pumping out the Immortals. He desperately needs the Templar. More defenses coming online. There needs to be Templar. He overcharged one of them. It has the energy almost for 2 storms, or it should be 2 storms now. The Queen's still helping out. Another wave of Locusts. The Templar not quite in position. He can box him out. Stasis is good. Oh, and another Stasis actually hits a bunch of the Locusts. They will time out. Good storm. Oracle's getting distracted by the Queens. One will be taken out, but the Queens are getting whittled down as well. Another storm softens everything up. And actually, Gerald with quite a defense. He's able to engage this kind of piecemeal. And the storms are helping out a lot. Snipes off the Queen. But there's no more energy on the Oracle. Another Archon coming through. All the storms exhausted. Wades into the Roach Ravager. Might be able to trigger the swoops from the Locust. Just backs off instead. And actually maybe not as good as it can get, but a solid defense from Gerald in a very tenuous position. He's able to hold on. Those 2 extra storms really helping out. And another overcharge was used. He gets the storms, but doesn't get the Archon merge, unfortunately. Gonna try to wait out some more. But the siege continues. There's no damage on the other side. Solar just keeps sending it. He's got a Lurker Den on the way. Gerald needs to either decisively crush this or get some counter damage. Because otherwise it's just gonna get worse. Immortal gets caught by Corrosive Bile. Another wave. And raining down the storms again, but a wave of Locusts will overwhelm. How long can the energy overcharge? Another 20 seconds. The shield batteries are nothing in the face of this. The Oracle, with what little energy it has, gonna try to help out. But Gerald is crumbling. The probes are pulled off the line, not known for their innate fighting ability, no matter how good they are. And Zealots warped in. Somehow Gerald looks like he may survive to fight another minute. I think he overcharged the Oracle as well, which is continuing to rack up the damage. But the supply, look at it. He gets continually chased back. The Locust should be able to kill off the Nexus. And Solar, again, has kind of... Well, he's now getting all his hive tech. He's nearly maxed out. It's not really on him to be teching up at this stage. He has the army already that could potentially win the game. But lurkers, of course, will make it much more difficult for the Protoss. The swarm hoes working their way by on their stubby legs and their big turtle-like backs. And another wave may spell the end, which would upset the Protoss if they ever learned how to read. Another wave of storms to soften up the Locust, getting maybe a couple Archons. And he throws it back again, but the Roaches in the natural. The Oracle's trying to stem the tide. 10 probes dead. Solar's been sitting on his 67-ish drones pretty much this entire time. And it's an economic disaster for the Protoss. The Swarm Hosts are caught. A few more seconds before the Locust actually gets a great catch. There's some lurkers on the way. We got Hydra Dash in production. The Archon surrounded and killed in a demonic ritual. And the Roach Ravager is just grinding its way through. Or the Roach Hydra, rather. The lurkers were Burrow. The Oracle used for Revelation, but that means it doesn't have energy to really fight. I don't know where the Immortals are. It seems like they all died throughout this. And Gerald has been in quite a long death animation. The overcharges have been helpful, but they haven't been enough. Solar is able to turn it around and take this series 2-1. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was still it made your day a little bit better. I hope to be back to more regular casting in as soon as possible. But until then, hopefully this was enough to make your day a little bit better. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Smash that like button. Subscribe. And stay chill.